it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine.
Hello, I'm Trey Thompson, and I've been given the honor of speaking about how I saw Christ through Holt as a friend. Luke chapter 10, verse 27 says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." That's the parable of the Good Samaritan, and that is Holt Rolling.
Holt Road, one of the best days of my life. The clinic we did was awesome. The game we played was incredible. No fence in the outfield, grass up to your knees, chickens and horses all around the field. The coaches said we were the only team that interacted and made a difference. Their coaches were so passionate. My peers with me are Drew, Lolo, and Trey. He then went on to write on day 4 about John Bishop, who's the founder of School International, which is the company that partnered with the FCA to make this trip happen. He says, Joe Bishop, founder of School International, spoke during tonight's Devo time. He did an awesome job. He asked, "What quarter are you in?" You never know when the game of life will be over. Clock strikes 0. That was the message shared as several young men gave their lives to the Lord that night, and Holt remembered that message.
Holt chose his favorite quote and even put it on his Facebook page. I found great comfort in this quote because it is obviously how Holt felt and lived his life. John 3:30 states, "He must become greater, I must become less." I know that on that day, he became greater when Holt was called up to heaven. That's why I think of this day as one so special, not only to me, but to him.
Today I want to share a story about Holt that really stands out to me and stands out in my mind, is close to me. Well, anyways, Holt's team had their Bible study, and they were through before our team had ours. And so when we got through, I ran downstairs and I was ready to play cards, and show out and just have a good time. Well, I walked downstairs and I saw everybody to the right playing cards. Then I looked to the left and I saw Holt sitting by himself. And I walked over to him. I said, "Holt, what's up, man?" And he just looked up at me and said, "Hey, Leslie." And he had been writing in his journal and reading his Bible on his free time. And that just stood out to me so much, and I will never forget how he was sitting and just everything about that, because for me, having fun that night and doing what I want to do, my joy was going to be hanging out and having fun, and Holt's joy was found in his Bible. And his joy was found in writing about the things that he had seen God doing that week. And Jesus was his treasure. It talks about in the Bible, your treasure is where your heart is. And Holt's heart and his treasure was in God. And that's just something that was just so awesome about Holt. When they asked me to speak, I felt that I should ask some of the family members what stood out the most to them about Holt. And when I asked them, these were some of their answers. His smile, his hugs, his laugh, his wink, how he made everyone feel special and loved, no matter where they're from or where they came from or where they were at. His "I love yous" coming in and going out the door, his kisses on the cheek, his love for others, his heart for people, his genuine love for people, his heart for missions, his ability to be trusted, his sweet spirit, his humble spirit, how he never talked negatively about people, his giving heart, even to the point of giving his heart and organs away as an organ donor, how he would always tell you he loved you and encourage you, how he never had to say a word to know he was a Christian, and most importantly, his love for God. Holt loved Jesus, and it was evident in the way he lived his life day to day. Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world." And that verse just describes Holt perfect to me, because he was a light and a bright light, and everywhere he went, he just lit up the room, and everybody knew he was there, and everybody was drawn to him.
1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 5 says, "Your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God." Holt picked a deer stand this year that we all gave him a hard time about. Not once had a deer been shot or even seen at this spot. But Holt meant that this was his spot. Mr. Mitchell Dowling and Holt were setting out trail cameras a few weeks ago. Holt insisted Mr. Mitchell put one near his stand. Mr. Mitchell laughed, knowing like all of us that the camera would prove to Holt that there were no deer there. But just because Holt was so insistent there was a deer there, he set one up. 2 days after the accident, Mr. Mitchell went to check the cameras, and you wouldn't believe what was on the one near his stand. Holt's faith in his stand proved correct. This is what Holt somehow knew was there for him. This gives me comfort. I know that Holt's faith in the Lord was even stronger than the faith he had in that deer stand.
I had this feeling I needed to go read Holt's Bible and look through his Bible. So I told Hunter, I got up and I told Hunter, I said, "Buddy, I'll be back in a few minutes." So I went in Holt's room, and I picked up his Bible and just flipped through it. And this is amazing to me that the verse he had outlined, one of the verses he had outlined and highlighted, was Psalm 139:16. And it says, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Holt knew this word, but he didn't know when it was going to be his time to go. But Holt realized that God knew when that time would come. But the thing was, Holt was just hitting baseballs. He was doing one of the things he enjoyed doing, and it was his time. But the difference between Holt is he was prepared. You know, Holt, if there's one person on this earth that I know that he knew Jesus and had Jesus in his heart, it's Holt. You know, he'd asked Jesus in his heart, and he had trusted him as his Lord and Savior. And he had that daily relationship with Jesus. And if you knew him, he didn't have to tell you that. You could see it. And I'm here today to tell you that Holt Rowland would want nothing more than for all of his friends and for everyone to have that relationship with Jesus and to know Jesus and to trust him with your life and to ask Jesus into your heart. And Jesus wants the same thing.
Only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees, or will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes, when I find myself standing inside. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever worship you. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. To my knees, or will I fall, or will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine.